Hello, good morning. Hope you're having a great day and hope everything is fine with you there. I believe the day is going fine and it will be fine with you. Uh, we'll be going into variables, talking about variables, looking into things like that. In the previous video, I spoke and showed us how we can set up Visual Studio Code and set up Cooker. So, because those are tools that will help us work and understand what we are going through easily and make it much more easier. Feel free to use any other ID. You can use, there is other ID like Atom. You can use such IDs. It's fine, but I will be using VS Code, and the particular extension I'm working with very well here will be Cooker. Now, so what are variables? Variables is a means of giving a name to something in programming now. So for instance, let's bring it to a real world scenario. You have a dog, you call the name of the dog Puppy. Now Puppy itself, the name Puppy, P-U-P-P-Y, is not the dog, but P-U-P-P-Y, Puppy, is a way of calling a dog. So the variable itself is not it, but it's a way of calling structures, of calling, of making transactions in code, of making interactions in code easily and easier. In the olden days, you have to write the memory location and all of that, but with variables, you don't need to do all of that. You just give it a name, any name, and then it works with that. So, how do we declare variables in JavaScript? Now, in JavaScript, there are two basic ways we declare variables, and the first is using the let, and the second is using the const. Now, where do we use the two? Now, let's demonstrate it in this. So we have the let keyword. Now, the let keyword, basically, when it comes to JavaScript, you can use anything. So for instance, I say variable is 12, and I can say boy is 14. It's all fine with JavaScript. So basically what let does is it lets you, so you see 14 itself is what we want to stop, but boy is just a way of calling for this 14. So anywhere we see boy, we know the boy is what? 14. Now that is just understanding. But you know, we have also const. Now a variable that can change, we use let. But when such a variable doesn't change, that is constant, we use const. So for instance, if I have something that will not change throughout, I can call it girl, and I say 16. Now if you look at for boy, I can say boy is 20, and you see it's fine, no problem. But when I try to say girl and I say she's 20, you see it gives a problem. You see the assignment of constant variable, it is not allowed in JavaScript. The reason why it's a constant is because it's not supposed to change. So trying to give it something else will create an error. So if there's something that you don't want to change for whatever reason, you don't want it to change throughout your code, then the right thing to use there is the const. But if it's going to be changing the right type of variable to use, the way to declare it will be using the let. So that's the basic difference between the let and the const. Now we also have this other way, which is the var. But you know, I personally don't like using the var keyword to declare variables. If I could show us, so let me take this off. So var as something, and you see it's fine, and you can just change the something to, it's also fine with it. So it's usable, but there were issues around it, and that was what brought about the let and the const. You can check on that. But basically, I always recommend to always use let and const. I don't bother myself using the var keyword. So we'll be talking about variable scopes later in the series. Now, so examples of variable names, you can use anything. You can use dog, you can use cat. So whatever can be used. So you can call it cat, and you say that's fine. And you can say dog, and that's also fine. So what any name is allowed in JavaScript. The only restriction will be where we have reserved word. So if I so anything can be used, but when we have reserved word like while, like if, like for, like the function keywords, all these keywords cannot be used. So if I was to show us an example now, if I say let if equals to 23, it gives me an error. If you look here, it said unexpected keyword if, because if is meant for something else. So if is actually something else in JavaScript. It has a particular function it is performing already in JavaScript. So to give something else that name will be wrong, because the computer will not be conflicted between whether to use what is originally meant for, what is reserved for, or what you are setting it for. So such is not allowed in JavaScript. If you try while also, because while is also another keyword in JavaScript, so it's not allowed. Yeah, so basically any reserved word in JavaScript, you are not allowed to use it as a variable name. So that's the only limitation or restriction you have on the names you can give your variable in JavaScript. So anything so far it is not a reserved word is permissible in JavaScript. Now, variables in JavaScript is also important to note that they are case sensitive. So, for instance, if I have let dog equals 23. Now, if I come and put dog here, okay, let me just clear everything. Okay, so dog is 23. You see that it shows dog is 23. But if I come and I put dog, you see it doesn't recognize dog as this dog. So capital dog is not defined. But if I come here and I make this capital dog, so you see it's not recognizing the small one now, small letter dog. It will recognize the capital letter. So it's very important that you take note of the case you are using. So even if it's just a letter that changes, so if instead of dogs with small letter s, I put an s with a capital S, even if it's just that one letter s, it still will not recognize it. So we should take note when we are giving our variables name. So for instance, dog is not the same as small letter dog. A capital H in the house is not the same as all house in capital. Horses with an underscore is not. So I think I should show that. So for instance, let's say you have horses is equals to horses. Now it is not the same as horses. It does not recognize it. The underscore must also be here for it to recognize it. Sorry. So that's the only way to recognize if it exactly matches what was in the way it was declared. So it was declared horses with an underscore. Same way it has to be horses with an underscore there. So you should always take note to check the variable name that you use in spelling is spelled correctly as declared, and not doing so will result in bugs in your code. So that's what I just showed now, that if you don't put, it will result to errors. You have bugs in your code and it will be problematic for you. So always make sure and check again to make sure that the name you use is the same as the name that is being declared in your variable name. So for instance, if you come and let's say I say let 1 is equals to 1, and I say let 1 is equals to 2. Now if by mistake I want to use this one and I go and do it like this, what I'll be referencing to is this other one, not this. So you must take note to know what you want to use and call it appropriately. Use it with the same way it was spelled. Now there are different conventions in programming for writing variable names, but in JavaScript basically we use the camel case. Camel case means so for instance, that is the first letter will be a small letter, but the beginning of every word will be a capital letter. So for instance, camel is a word, and then case is another word. So in C# and in JavaScript here we have that camel case. There are other program languages where the convention, I think Python, in Python is something like this. They use underscore. In C sharp, something all caps, upper cases. The first words are all uppercase. But for JavaScript, the convention is to use the camel case, where the first letter is a small letter and every subsequent first letter is a capital case. So that is it for this video. If you have any questions, please do drop them in the comment section, and I'll try my possible best to respond as soon as possible. And I want you to also remember that the only way to be better at anything, even programming, is by doing it. So go ahead, practice, try. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in the next video. Please don't forget to subscribe, to like, and to share. Thank you.